business leaders and surgeons and barristers. I see women who are going to win elections and science competitions and arts awards.
Do not be afraid to fail.
We can
All right, Talk community. Happy Sunday to you guys. Happy Talk Sunday. We are back with an all new episode. And of course, as we are continuing season 7, growing through growing pains, I'm excited to present the topic that we have for you guys today, and a familiar face to you all, a longtime avid supporter of this platform, a dear friend of mine. And as I was sharing with him earlier, probably the most humble person that I know. So in engaging in this topic today, I anticipate it is definitely going to be a very thought-provoking, insightful conversation. And we are going to be talking about pride and egos. I would have to say, when we begin looking at the topics for the season, we plan very, very far in advance, down to those that are going to be on the show engaging in the talk time. And a lot of times things just align with having my own personal experiences closer and closer to the date that we share in the conversation. So I'm sure we're going to share our own experiences. And the objective is to be able to learn to find a healthy balance in pride and egos, and really understanding them and how they fit into our life and how they can be a benefit for us. So we'll talk a little bit about the adversity thereof, but then transition to the feel good part of how we can manage on a day-to-day basis. So I am going to allow him to introduce himself, and then we'll get started.
All right, I'm Rodney James. Does it say it on the screen? All right. Community leader, I suppose, of Domino Effect. That's the nonprofit organization, 501c3. And like she stated, avid supporter of TIFF Talks. You know, I try to help out wherever I can. I don't do the socials. We mention that a lot. And I'm just me. I don't know.
Yes. And I would have to believe, maybe because you don't do the socials, maybe that helps with your own humility. Does it or no?
What is humility?
Look at you getting into the outline before it's on the outline. Look at you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for me personally, when it comes down to egos, it's always perceived to some effect that one's ego shapes their own identity. And that is because, of course, the ego is one of the components that aligns and sharpens your own conscious decision making. And when it comes down to egos, I always wonder about the authenticity versus the audacity. And, you know, we went through this whole trend and phase of the audacity thereof, of people like expressing like just the nerve of people. But on the same, you know, spectrum, just the other end, people sharing how authentic they were and walking in their authenticity and things of that sort. And I just find it like really interesting to understand the role of the ego, but also the role of pride and ego as it relates to one's own identity. So I think really to just lay the groundwork of this, you know, talk time and being able to share with the community your, you know, thoughts and insights. What do you think is the role of the ego and pride as it relates to one's own identity, if any role at all?
I think it plays a major role, especially when it comes to dealing with people outside of yourself. You know, sometimes pride can play a role in how you carry yourself, I think. You know, how you dress, how you treat people, how you go about doing your business, how you go about your work ethic, your daily discipline, things of that nature. Pride can play a role in that. But your ego, I think, plays a role when other people become involved. I think when you're dealing with other people, that ego side is more like you want to put yourself ahead of everyone else. That's when that ego jumps out. You want your side to be heard more. You want your foot forward before the next person's, or like ego jumps ahead of a lot of things. And so you mentioned in the beginning, do you even have an ego? You know what I mean? And it's like, I think in a lot of ways, ego can be this bad thing, this part of you that is self-serving for the most part. And if you're not aware of it, it can hinder you. Just like pride. Sure enough, pride is this thing I think you deal with on your own, but it jumps out sometimes, even, from a spiritual realm, when it says pride comes before the fall type deal, right? Where it's like, when it becomes excessive of how you view yourself ahead of others, that's when it becomes an issue for you, right? And so all of these things, I think, I don't want to say I've mastered them, but I am aware of them. And so when I feel like it's hindering me, I check it myself before anybody else does.
I love that. Ooh, I love that. Being able to understand that your ego is in relation to other people and your pride is one specifically owned by yourself. So when I think of pride, I think of, well, with both of them, I think it's important to have self-awareness.
Yeah.
And being able to have that self-awareness is where you're able to check them. I love just being able to, I guess, identify or correlate ego as it relates to being self-serving, because I think personally that's been my experience as it relates to egos. My own, checking myself of my own ego, but also in, relation to other people. I find personally, if I had to have one supersede over the other, then for me, it would be my pride, because personally, my pride, I think, has really shaped my reputation. And I think, for me, my pride has been a good thing. It's been one that, I take pride in the way that I do things. I take pride in the way that I, manage my business. And I think the kind of most relatable example of how pride has been like something that has really catapulted me in the direction that I've been in, has been my career. I can remember, like, for the longest, people never knew who I was in this health system. Like, they didn't know me by my face.
Yeah, that's
but
good.
they knew me by my work. So they would say, "Oh, you're Tiffany. I remember reading your documentation," or "I remember talking to you about a patient," or something to that effect. And I became, very prideful of my work. And my pride, shaped my reputation to a point where I took pride in my work. And that was something that I didn't want to be tarnished or to be faulted. Because I didn't want my reputation to be faulted or tarnished. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. I understand that completely. I would say pride has been a benefit for me in my own personal life, and it trickles over in the work when it pertains to just how you carry yourself as a person. You know what I mean? Like, I take pride in showing up. I take pride in being present. I take pride in being on time. I take pride in being neat and like there's certain things you can expect from me. I take pride in that, right? And those are things I just, over the years, I picked up on. I remember, my dad, who passed away last year. There's just certain things I caught on to, of how he showed up, how he always dressed a certain way, how he accessorized a certain way, how he smelled a certain way, and even down to like details and how he lined up the lotions and the soaps around the sink. And it's like certain things like that I think are like things that you can use that benefit you and line you up to, kind of, it lines you up for success almost as it pertains to like my friends and family. That pride, I take pride in, being that call away. Not that I can save you every time, but people need people they can call. So I take pride in being available like that and showing up like that, and that trickles over into work when, you have these people that feel like they can talk to you or feel like they can call you or feel like they can depend on you.
Yes.
And, those things I take mad pride in, but it can be excessive when it gets into if I wasn't here, it'll be madness, or you start to, that's where the ego jumps out, where it's like it's this excessive thing where you think if not you, then nobody. You know what I mean? And that's just not the case. This world's gonna keep spinning, whether you in it or not. You know what I mean? And it's important for you to go about it the right way. And so that's what I try to do.
Definitely. I'm gonna ask an off the book question at the end that is gonna be funny to me, but I have to know now since you shared that with us about your dad. Okay. So when you were talking about the excessiveness of pride that oftentimes trickles into an ego, I find that egos, just as many other things that we all have and take ownership of our own, they can oftentimes be subjective. Mm-hmm. And when I think about the most common thing of, that's oftentimes subjective, is like when you go to church and a pastor starts talking about haters and everybody start clapping and amen.
Yeah, everybody got them.
Everybody got them. Everybody got the haters. But never or not often do you see the same amount of amens and claps of, those that have haters identifying themselves as a hater. You understand what I'm saying?
Never.
And those things are, oftentimes, like egos, subjective, because you never know, or you never, not always, now I'm not going to say never, not always do one check, self-check themselves, or, have the opportunity, or even someone around them to say, yeah, no, you're the one that's out here wreaking the havoc. You're the one that came in a certain way and left another way, things like that. So I wonder, and I ask of you, do you feel that ego is subjective, or is that just my own thinking?
I think it can be, So the reason I feel like it can be is I think it is subjective on both parts, but that goes back to that awareness thing. Then there's other words like delusion that comes into play where, some people just don't see, from other people's perspective. And that rolls over into, what were we talking about? Social intelligence, emotional intelligence, where empathy plays a role. And that's solely seeing something from somebody else's point of view where, all right, I understand how I could come off that way. If you can't do that, then it's definitely going to be subjective to you. You know what I mean? If you could say, all right, I came in here with my chest out, I can see I was feeling good when I walked in here, but I can see how it came off boastful. You know what I mean? Or I was only pointing out something I felt like could make you better. I can understand how it came off as a little hate. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be able to see every side of it. And it takes a big person to say that. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not I don't think it's this right or wrong thing. It's a subjective thing, but it's not a right or wrong thing. And most people look at it as a right or wrong thing, because I think that's where that personal, taking it personally, comes into play. Then it becomes this right or wrong thing. Like, bro, it's not right or wrong. It's, subjective just means I see it another way. We could see it different ways. That's all that means. And a lot of people just can't understand that. And that's the kicker right there.
Now that I believe will change the perspective of some people depending on how they receive it. Because I'm a personable person. So I tend to always have a personal connection one way or the other. But even in having a personal connection to things, to people, to places, to issues, I've become person enough to be able to say, hey, it's not personal for me. I just don't agree. Like I'm at a point in my life where I can say, okay, like we can agree to disagree. I don't believe that there has to be a villain in every story. And unfortunately, I've come to find that those that feel there has to be a villain in every story, then they're the ones that pretty much are battling with their own egos. And I don't know if it's because I've gotten older. I don't know if I've read the Four Agreements too many times. I don't know. I've gotten to a point where it's like, I'm at a place where I don't have to be seen or heard. I know my worth and I know what I bring to the table. So I don't need to battle with anyone. And I feel that has given me more self-awareness and self-regulation when it comes to my ego, when it comes to, my pride, because my pride is a motivator for me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be excessive where it alters my ego.
Mm-hmm. I get that. I definitely get that. Everybody's not there though.
I know.
Like we're talking about 1%. You know what I mean? Like it's like a 1% because the other 99, they want their shine, they want their recognition, they want that check by their name on social media. They want it all. So it's like you have to know that.
And I mean, let's being realistic. I'm not there every day. I'm not, I don't feel that I'm above any one person or the other. I just feel I don't have the capacity to save space for that. Yeah. Does that make sense?
But most people don't though. Like, so let's talk like celebrity, right? Most people think they want celebrity. Mm-hmm. Celebrity doesn't want celebrity. Like, it's cool when people know your name, but if you can't run the Walmart, nobody really wants that, right? Like, come on. Like, these people who are celebrities don't live normal lives. Like, they can't live normal lives, not because of the stardom and the good that comes with it, but more so because of the bad that comes with it. The constant criticism, the constant threat of somebody trying to take what you have. You know what I mean? So there's this offset where you have to see the full realm of whatever it is you're looking at. You know what I mean? And back to, that goes back to what we were just talking about. If you can't see the full picture, then it becomes delusion. I'm gonna be popping out here, but you don't know what comes with pop. And there's some people who are genuinely just shining, and there's somebody like, man, I want to snatch that from them. Or they think they all that. And it's like nobody's doing this for you. It's people literally out here waking up and just taking advantage of opportunity, and that's it. There's no need to tell people, there's no need to shout it from rooftops. It's opportunity knocking. People are taking advantage and going home to their families, and that's it. And people are mad about it. And that's a crazy world to live in.
That's a delusional world to live in.
It's so crazy. So crazy.
So when we get into the conversation of emotional intelligence and that 1% on whatever day you fall into that category, we talked a bit about empathy. And empathy is I personally feel empathy is such a gift to have and a gift to share. Mm-hmm. Because as much as people feel that they have it or that they give it, not so much. I think it's all about the approach and practice thereof. Mm-hmm. But that empathy, those social skills, that self-awareness, that self-regulation, that emotional intelligence, that impacts your interactions, but not just your interactions, your relationships. So I'm curious to know, just from your perspective, from the emotional intelligence standpoint, how do you combat this excessive ego thing that one may be dealing with or battling with? How do you manage that effectively on a day-to-day basis?
I think empathy is the right word for that, right? So, and this is crazy because it goes back to one of the, I think the health event that we had, right?
Mhm.
Where, you know, I showed up as the book boy, right? One of the benefits of reading is it helps build your empathy. That being said, is if you read a lot, you become more in tune with other people's stories outside of your own story. No, you never had cancer, but look at this story. Look at this family. Look at this person who battled and won. Look at this person who battled and lost. Look at this person who's still battling. You know, you've never been homeless, but look at this situation. Look at this situation. And it's like you build that up. It's some people who, like, especially for our culture, it's been, you know, said that, you know, you want to keep some from us, put it in the book, right? Now, if we keep that same energy, do we know how to empathize if we don't read? You know what I mean? If we are so in touch with ourselves, not reading, you know, we want to be famous. We want to, you know, we want to be the ones with all the haters. We clap when all the haters, which means we see ourselves in a certain light. Nobody ever said, man, I ain't got no haters. I ain't even got nothing popping right now. Like, you know what I mean? So we see ourselves a certain way, you know, but if we, you know, became more in tune with other people's stories, that would help us in that realm of, you know, just simply, you know, knowing, all right, I can like, for me, it's crazy. Some gift that I don't know how I got it, right? It could have been from reading, it could have been this spiritual thing that I'm just totally unaware of. But when I started to write, uh I was able to put myself in people's shoes. Like, I could literally see myself in certain situations. I can feel it. I can taste it. I could literally be there. And it probably never, ever happened to me, you know, and I got all of this from, I know for a fact with this one piece that I wrote, uh, where I was just so locked into this story, and I went to write about it from the perspective of the person. And it was, how it came out was like, how did you even do that? Right. And so somehow I've developed this gift to where not only can I empathize, I can put myself in the shoes without ever being in those shoes. And in most cases, it doesn't take all that. All it takes is saying, hey, I'm listening. I understand. You know what I mean? You're telling me you've been through a hurricane. I don't have to go through a hurricane to listen to you. And you tell me all the details, and I say, man, that's wild that you even here. You know what I mean? Like, and so I think empathy plays a major role, you know, just being able to see somebody else's side, understand somebody else's story, you know, and feel something. You know, most people, they lean so much into themselves, they don't feel nothing for nobody else. You know what I mean? Like, no, you don't have to give every homeless man that passes by $1, but if you just stop to hear how that became that, it's a story there. You know what I mean? Like, they're just walking around, their stories everywhere, and all you have to do is hear them, and it'll change you. But people just drive by, roll the window up. You know what I mean? And it's like the same thing when it comes to, it don't have to be as drastic as somebody homeless. It could be the person that works next to you. Their story is crazy. They showed up to work and something is off, and you just think they mad today. That's not what it is. It's deeper than that. You know what I mean? But you could take it a certain way and turn it into something else. But you know that to be true because you have those days where you're not smiling today. You're a little bit more snappy today, or you're not talking to nobody at all today. You know what I mean? And there's a reason for it. But that's that 1% we're talking about. You know, people want to have haters. Oh, she thinks she all that today. She ain't talking to nobody today. And yeah, I knew they was gonna be like this when I got my new car. And like, you just throw so much in there, and it's like, come on, man. It's
subjective.
Yeah, it's not that. Yeah.
I I agree. Like, I think if we take more time to practice active listening,
Yeah.
and I know that that can be hard in this rat race of a life that we oftentimes either live in or put ourselves into. Um, that can be challenging, but if
Mm.
we take time to just give a listening ear to find out what's going on beyond the surface, then it helps us to better resonate and identify with people,
Yeah.
and to truly have a heart for people. And when it comes down to community, when it comes down to culture, we've seen so often, you know, more recently, us taking pride. And when I say us, I'm talking about Black and Brown communities, us taking pride as a motivator and being able to say, you know, I'm putting pride into my business. I'm putting pride into my Black dollar. I'm putting pride into my investments. And I'm interested to know, you know, from your perspective as a community leader, do you feel that pride has been a motivator for us in the community, or is that something that we're still working toward to build our community?
Uh, I have a really specific opinion on this topic where
Okay.
I want to believe it's pride. I want to believe that things have shifted to where we say, hey, the Black dollar is going to stay on this side a little bit longer. I'm supporting you because I believe in you, things like that, where it's just like we're trying to build each other up. But I don't know. That's where my skepticism, it taps me on the shoulder, like, I wanna believe it to be true, but realistically, there's so many other signs that say otherwise, right? For
Mm-hmm.
me. Where I see too many trends, you know what I mean? Uh I see too many businesses alike. Uh I see too many critics of Black business.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Customer service being at the top of that list. There's this trend of complaints when it comes to Black business, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing that I see is the allocation of the Black dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is when we support you, what do you do with that dollar? Now, if you open a Black coffee shop, right, and you promote it, Black coffee shop, you sell t-shirts, Black coffee shop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we doing everything Black coffee, right? But and you get us going. We feel good. We go there every morning. Starbucks is trying their best. They're making their own Yetis and t-shirts. We support Black, like they're trying to compete because here we are supposedly taking pride in our own, right? But if you take that and then go buy a Benz and then pull up on us in a Benz and say we hating on you and your Benz, and that Benz is not a Black owned situation, I'm like, it's a little
That's
crazy.
a step too.
Exactly. Or you take that money and you go stun on us saying, oh, I'm in Peru or I'm in Jamaica or Dubai. And I was like, that's what you did with our money. So our money left anyway. You know what I mean? Like, it left, and we tend to do that a lot. Like, that's what success looks like to majorities. Luxury, traveling like excessively.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what this thing is about traveling every week of the month, every month,
1 week of the
the
month.
year. Like, what happened to 2 good trips a year? Or, you know what I mean? During the summertime when the kids are out of school, and you know what I mean? And you can take time from work. And man, so it's like when I look at this thing that we want to build as a people, I start to think about, all right, where is it going? Because then there becomes this plot where if you know that the powers that be promote to you, right? and you catch on to it. But the powers that be realize that if people of their own can start businesses, but at the end of the day, those businesses can get the money from them and still bring it to us. It's like, oh, let's do it that way. It's they think they're doing something, they're not doing anything. And I noticed this because the neighborhoods that we live in, the communities that we serve, some of they're still gentrification. You don't see this big pride in building up the neighborhood convenience store. You can go down OST and Scott, and OST store looks the exact same. No, it's not Black owned, but it's dead smack in the middle of a Black community, and you're serving Black people, yet you still got buckets catching leaks. You know what I mean? So it's like if we're serving ourselves and it's staying here, let's make it look a certain way before the people move in and build it up, kick us out, and then we're mad. You know what I mean? So it's like, if we really taking pride, you really got to take pride in it. You can't just say, oh, I supported this Black business, I did my part. No, what'd you do with the money from it? You know what I mean? Like, that's one of the biggest reasons why I chose this whole nonprofit situation, where it's like, you know, I wanted to be here. I don't want anything from it, but if I can build or motivate or inspire or change the day, the life, you know, of somebody right here, and it can happen right here and stay right here, and I feel like I did a good job. But I don't feel right, you know, taking something and going to do something else with the money from it. If you work hard for your money, by all means, take your trips. I know life can be stressful. Life can throw you some curveballs here and there. Work can bash you over the head all year. So you get that PTO, take your PTO, you work for that PTO, get up out of here, go do what you want, buy what you want, like do what you want. But when we're talking about Black business, that's when I'm like, all right, Black business should build Black business. It shouldn't take from Blacks off the strength of Black business and then take it to white business or other business. Like, that's crazy to me, right? So
what I hear you saying is that should be our pride in Black business should be an act of service.
It always should be. Like, we're literally all in service, whether you believe it or not. We're all in service every day, all day. You could feel prideful about where you work, your career, whether it's a job or a career. You know, however it is, you're serving something. You're in service. We're all in service, and the more we see that, the more this thing will be way more simple than we make. Like, we make things super complicated.
Right. And that service is oftentimes what we what we define as success. So understanding, just like you kind of shared a minute ago, when it comes to service, when it comes to Black business, when it comes to these egos, when it comes to pride, having that empathy and letting the empathy be the lead, I guess you can say, or letting the empathy be the approach. If you approach with empathy, then you're able to see yourself in another person's shoes and another person's story, so that you will truly identify and be able to be of service.
I understand that. Like, I think if people realize that, like, and for some reason it's like flashing red lights to me. Like, we could literally be somewhere enjoying ourselves, and I'm thinking something totally different. Like, I was just in Jamaica a few months ago, and for some reason it just hit me. I'm looking at these, you know, they had like butlers at the resort and all kind of stuff, right? But I'm seeing these people who are kind of like, I don't want to say uppity, but, you know, they're in vacation mode. But something hit me where I'm thinking, people just can't wait to get on the other side of service, right? Where, you know, we work day and night serving, whether you know it or not, you're providing a service. But it's like, we can't wait to be on the other side of that, getting served. If I'm giving a massage, I can't wait till it's me on the table. Like, you know, it can, like, and that's the offset, but it's never like a direct correlation. So it's always service. Yeah, I'm working my tail off day and night, but when I get to that resort, feet up, I'm throwing my stuff on the floor. I don't care because I know somebody else is in service. They're gonna
Yeah.
clean this room. They're gonna bring me what I want. I'm gonna run them ragged. I ain't gonna tip them good. Like it's crazy. And if you just had that empathy to realize that I'm in service a certain amount of time, that person is in service. And I realize that. Let me not, because you don't want nobody making it hard on you when you're in service.
Yeah, that's true.
So think about this person that's in service right now. They're working. So make sure you tip them. They got to go back home to their families, and at some point they don't want to take a vacation too.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So it's like, think about that.
that's that self-awareness.
The waitress and the waiter, they in service. No, you're not a waitress or a waiter, but you're in service. And one day they may want to eat here and sit at this table. And so think about that when it's time to tip. Think about that when you're making a big mess and you think they just gonna clean up you because you got the money to pay for it. It's like, bro, have a little empathy. Think about these things. I see it every day where people feel like, hey, you got a cleaning crew that goes around cleaning the building day and night. You could just waste and spill and throw stuff down and spit. And like, bro, that's nasty.
Yeah.
It's
yes.
And so I think man, that empathy part is really, really big. And that service part, if people realize that, we're all in service, at some point, it will make a big difference.
Yeah, I love that. That's very that's something that definitely resonates with me. I think not only with the being in service and the empathy, but also, like we talked about a little earlier, humility. And I think for me this year, having like so many different milestones that my family was enjoying, and in the midst of, I found myself really like humbled to be in the place. Like I can remember, so I'm coming up on the almost 18-year-old, a whole almost adult that is still my kid, but an adult kid. And over the spring break, she didn't have the opportunity to go on spring break and do what her friends did and things like that. So she was allowed the opportunity to say, this is what I want to do after the fact for spring break. And she decided that she wanted to go to New Orleans for their jazz fest with the whole shebang. So we made it happen, me and a couple of friends of mine. And we were there and we were in the moment. We were in this concert and all of us were enjoying ourselves. And I found myself like, just having a sense of being humble, because here I am having this kid at the age of 19, about to be 18. I found myself kind of tearing up a little bit, being able to say, look how humble I can be, humble in this moment of where I am, where my child is, and being able to share this experience with her. And it's not something that, I anticipated, but just being able to see her in that moment and me be in that moment, it was like, not Tiffany, you getting old, but Tiffany, this is an humbling experience for you to be able to share this with your child, because who would have thought you would have been able to do this a year ago? You then came across the waters off the Louisiana waters and not have to worry about a bill being paid, and I have to worry about like these things that other people will have on their mind, and be able to enjoy this and not miss a beat and do it with your child. You understand what I'm saying? So for me, that was very humbling, but I love what you shared about being in service and always understanding and recognizing that you're in service, whether you are of service or providing the service, and being able to have empathy in that. I think that's where we find that humility, where we find that awareness and that self-regulation ultimately.
Yeah, for sure.
So we've talked about a lot in this bit of time together. And of course, as we wrap up, with all that we've shared, I have to ask, like, what is the takeaway for you when we talk about the emotional intelligence, when we talk about egos being something that is oftentimes self-serving, and both ego and pride being a reflection of your own interactions, of your own relationships? What is the one thing that you want to make sure that our audience take away from the conversation that we've had today?
Uh, I think not only so one of the things that I'm big on is uh in most cases when I'm reading or I'm listening to conversations or whether it's sermons or whatever, uh there's always a point where you can take it further. You know, if you're reading a book, there's always a phrase that you can go and search and it leads you to a million other phrases. There's words that you don't know how to spell, how to use, you never heard them before. You can go search them, it's going to lead you to a million other words, you know. This conversation, not only do I want people to just kind of listen and soak it in, but I would want people to listen to what some would deem buzzwords, like, you know, emotional intelligence and things like that, where it encourages you to just go look it up. Go look it up and see what it is, you know. And once you see what it is, ask yourself, do you have it? And if you don't have it, ask yourself, how do I get it? You know, if I don't, if I'm not a humble person, how do you become a humble person? How do you become self-aware? How do you become less prideful in the, you know, in a bad way? How do you become prideful in the good way? How do you, you know, build your empathy? How do you, like, it's certain things where I feel like I don't want to give it to you from me. You know what I mean? I want to give you something that you can take and go find for yourself, you know, and we'll know once you come back to the table if you got it or not. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's what I want people to take. I don't want you to take nothing from me. I don't, like, I'm still learning. We're all still learning.
Right.
I'm still learning this emotional intelligence thing. I'm still learning this humility thing. I'm still learning all of this, you know. So sure enough, people may compliment you on it, but at the same time, it's a daily thing. Because I could wake up tomorrow morning and just start putting hands on people, and they're like, "Oh, what happened to him? He's having a bad day." You know what I mean? It could
Right.
easily. I'm not above none of that.
Right.
So I encourage people to listen to some of the words, the terms. If you're unfamiliar, look it up, Google it, search it, write it down, put it in your journal, watch YouTube videos on it. Like, put it,
Whatever your source may be.
whatever your source, dig into it, add
Yeah.
it to yourself if it's good, take it away from yourself if it's hindering you, and that puts you in the top percent of people who don't have it. You know what I mean? Like, and it helps you. You know, a lot of things that hinder people are, you know, it's strictly being ignorant to what benefits you.
Yeah.
If you don't know that simply walking a certain amount of minutes a day can literally help your health, just walking, you know, we all got these smart watches that tell us, hey, get up. Like a watch
Yeah.
has to tell you to get up. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You never say, all right, why do I need to get up? You know, all right, maybe I already helps with your blood flow. Oh, is that all right? Why do I need blood flow? Like, just take yourself somewhere else and see what helps you. And
Yeah.
I think if we all could do that, you know, when we all meet up, it'll be a good time. It won't be this situation where it's haters in the room and all this other stuff. It'll simply be a room where everybody's trying to get better and they're looking to each other to see, hey, well, what did you bring in here that I could use? And I brought something that you can use. I'm sure of it. It's really that simple for me.
Changing the narrative with self-discovery.
For sure.
That's what it is. That's what it is. This was awesome. This was great. See, I know the thought provoking and the insight, and I just love being able to share it with the community and being able to have these conversations, and being able to share them. Like I recall you challenging me, and we see so often people take these challenges online, and those things don't regulate, or those things don't really resonate with you as it would someone that knows you that's challenging you. Because when someone that knows you that's challenging you, for me, I take it as you're seeing something greater in me and you're challenging me to improve myself. So your challenge to me a couple of months ago was working on my core. And I took that both figuratively and literally. And I will say, like, it has changed my perspective and my interactions in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And my interactions when it comes to my access, when it comes to my encounters. And I think, those things for me really allow me to go on this journey of self-discovery and empower me from the inside out to be able to self-check myself when it comes to my ego being excessive or my pride being excessive, and being able to have better relationships. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. That's really the point of it, because those are going to be the things that help build you up, lift you up, take you to the next level. People want all these followers, but these followers don't necessarily mean supporters. You know what I mean? And we're looking for supporters.
Right.
We're looking for people who understand what we're doing.
Right.
And so that was the point of that challenge. If you could
Yes.
build up a core that's crazy in support, I'd rather have 10,000 supporters than 1,000,000 followers.
Yeah.
That don't support me at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that was the point of that. And you can only do that by building up the core, building up your relationships, those interactions you have with people, real interactions, not something that you post, or you know what I mean, where they just see it and go on about their business, or they simply like it. No, let's have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And how can I help you in the process? What do you have going? Like, that's
Yeah.
how that thing builds. And that was my challenge to you. And it's
Yeah.
super, super important.
And I appreciate it. And as always, I appreciate you for being a part, for always supporting and engaging me. So I definitely appreciate that. I have a few announcements for our top community that I want to share. And that is, one, we are just about 2 months away from our visionary retreat, the first weekend in December, and we are at capacity for our lodging. And that brings me great joy and pride. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And as we prepare for that, we have now opened for same day ticket engagements. So people are able to attend the Day of Solitude on that Saturday, which is December the 2nd, and also participate in the Visionary luncheon, which is our celebration that we have been hosting for, I think, 5 years this year. So I am excited. You can definitely check out the webpage. Yes, Visionary finally has a webpage, a centralized place and location that you can go to and find out what's going on there. But also you can head over to Eventbrite to purchase and invest in yourself with those same day tickets and engagement sales. So more to come on that. On Tuesday, I will be sharing a little secret that I've been keeping of what's the way to put it? Of a community outreach, something that started out as a community outreach that ultimately ventured or expounded into a venture with Visionary. So I'll be sharing some information about that, and then I will have more to come on that. And that is what has led to our release of the blank canvas, which is our visionary planner that is undated. So it is a blank canvas for you to be able to start wherever you are and to finish wherever you would like to be. So more to come on that. We are going to be continuing season 7. We have two more episodes of season 7. And our next episode is going to be all about self-worth. I don't know that we've ever done an episode specifically on self-worth, but we will have a full-length episode on self-worth, and I'm sure we'll be zoning in and kind of tying up some of the loose ends with some of the previous talk times that we've had throughout this season. So I am excited to get into that and to share that with you guys. And I encourage you, as always, to remain connected. Rodney, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for being a part. And as always, you guys can follow us here. Oh, I did it right. All of these are our social platforms here. It is our YouTube at JAYKC Podcast, and our Instagram as well at JAY KC Community on Instagram. Any final words from you, Rodney?
No final words. I'm just happy that I can be a part. Happy for the opportunity to have this conversation for sure. I was looking forward to it. I reached out to you the other day about it. So I was just happy to, be a part of it. I know people don't get to see me as much, without being on social media, and sometimes, just being seen is a good thing. So I'm just happy to be a part.
To be seen and also to be heard.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you guys so very much for joining us this afternoon. We encourage you to definitely have a great Sunday. And as always, keep talking. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you.